to another fantastic edition of Sports Take. My name is Johnny Redmond, and I am joined alongside Joe Gentile, Nick Odell, and Jonathan Donnelly. How you doing, guys?
Awesome.
Good.
Good.
You know, guys, this sports week has been slower than the caution lap in NASCAR, but I think we have a few good topics for today. But before we get into those, we're going to go ahead and start off with our trivia question from Nick Odell. Take it away.
All right, so today's trivia question on this day in May 18th, 1995, the Orlando Magic beat the Jordan and the Bulls. My trivia question is, who was the Orlando Magic head coach in 1995 when they defeated Jordan and the Bulls? It is a really tough question this week. Guys, any thoughts? Starting with Donnelly.
I don't have any thoughts. I have no idea who that would have been.
All right, John. Or Joe.
I'll guess Larry Brown. I don't even know if he coached Orlando, but I know he was around the NBA for quite some time.
Johnny.
The only name that I can think of is George Karl. That's the only one.
Good guess.
Well, we will reveal the answer at the end of the show. But for now, for all our viewers out there, comment with your answer, and we'll see if you're right. Johnny, back to you.
All right. Thank you very much, Nick. It's funny that you mentioned Michael Jordan because our first topic today is on Michael Jordan. So an article was recently released on MSN.com that argues that the 1999 Bulls, had Jordan stayed with them, that they still would not have won a championship. And I thought we'd do a bit of an open discussion and hear your thoughts, with the Last Dance going on and Michael Jordan, very hot topic right now. Let's hear what you guys have to say.
Who wants to go
Nick,
first?
you want to get started on it, Nick?
Yeah, sure. So, my opinion, would the Bulls have won a 1999 championship with Jordan? I would say no. I mean, during the when I was watching The Last Dance last night, Jordan was tired, fatigued after the 1998 finals. So it's like, I would have to say no. Just based off that. Despite him saying later in the documentary that he would have returned if Jerry Krause, the general manager, retained everything. How about you? Want to go next, Joe?
Yeah, I think it's tough to tell. Jordan always wanted to. He said in the documentary that he wanted to go and try for a seventh title, and it eats at him to this day that he couldn't get that try. He couldn't get that 99 season because after that year, Dennis Rodman got traded, and Steve Kerr got traded, Pippen got traded. Everybody, and it's Phil Jackson in the documentary for people that haven't seen it. 82-0. He could have went 82-0 that year, and he still wouldn't have come back. It's tough to hear that from his boss, and I think that Jordan will always. I don't know. The Spurs won the '99 title, right?
Yes.
And I think.
Yep.
I think the San Antonio Spurs they drafted Duncan that year, and it was just the start of their dynasty that they won so many titles. So to say that Jordan, you never know with what ifs. So Donnelly, what do you think?
I didn't really watch the documentary too much, so I don't know really like the intricate parts of how everything went down that year. But seeing as how his career was, and like you said, still having that team, I think they could have won that year if he had stayed and played with them. So
yeah, no.
What do you think, Johnny?
Johnny, what do you think?
When Michael Jordan left the first time, I thought he could have won championships if he had stayed there. But, after 1998, it was a different story. You mentioned a lot of key pieces left that team, Joe. Even Phil Jackson left. He was the guy – Michael Jordan was the greatest of all time, but, Phil Jackson is arguably top 5 coach of all time.
Right.
Seeing him leave, the team just wouldn't have been the same, So even if Michael Jordan had stayed, I don't think he would have had enough flack to carry the team. I mean, look what he did with the Wizards. He came back and he still played pretty well. He was averaging 20, 25 points a game, but he just didn't have the talent around him, and it showed.
Sure.
So unfortunately, I have to agree. I would have liked to have seen Jordan stay. Maybe all the pieces would have stayed, but as it is, I'm going to say no as well. Moving on to the next subject, another live sport returned this week, live golf. So Dustin Johnson and Rory McIlroy won the $2.5 million grand prize, which I believe the tournament raised money for COVID relief, if I'm right there. There were a few tweaks in there, but I want to hear your guys' thoughts on them. Joe, why don't you go ahead and start us off?
I mean, it was awesome to see golf. It was awesome to see sports back on TV. It was a charity event for COVID-19. The viewership was up. There was no, fans in the stands because of the virus, but they handled it, I think, very well for putting it all together kind of last minute. Tournaments in 2021 are being prepared right now and planned out. So the fact that they put this together, they had big stars, like you mentioned, Johnny, Rory McIlroy, Dustin Johnson. They had a couple others. Those are big names. And Tiger Woods and Phil Mickelson have a tournament coming up with Tom Brady and Peyton Manning coming up soon, which I can't wait for. I'm a big golf advocate. I miss the sport. I miss the Masters that would have happened earlier in April. But I think overall it was good to see sports back on in America. We talked about last episode the KBO, the Korean baseball, and how that was happening. And more sports are getting the okay. I know Arizona passed their law to get it going in Tucson, Arizona, and Phoenix, and all the big cities. So I'm looking forward to seeing, what's going to happen with tennis and with baseball and basketball and everything, all the major sports. Football, opening day for football is September 10th. So we don't really have to see until September what's going to happen with that. But I'm looking forward to seeing every other sport. Nick, what do you think?
Yeah, well, first of all, this golf tournament was a great way to get golf back in the mix. I mean, donating the money to charity for COVID-19 relief. This is just a great idea. But like in terms of like golf being back overall, I love it. This is what America needs, is live sports, especially golf returning. And I really hope to have more sports coming in soon. How about you, Donnelly?
I think it was great. It was a good thought to bring that back for a good charity event. And I mean, it's great for the world of sports. Everybody needed at least one of the main sports coming back to get everyone's hopes up for the season, get everyone happy and excited for it. So it was definitely a great thing to finally see on TV. What about you, Johnny?
Yeah, I kind of watch golf here and there, or at least I did even before the pandemic. I did catch a few quick glimpses of it. There were a few tweaks on there, like I mentioned before. It felt a little off, but I mean, those are just really the standard precautions that they're taking. And I didn't exactly imagine American sports coming back in this way, but I was pretty excited to see it. I felt like at times it was a little bit overpowered. I mean, you guys know Rory McIlroy and Dustin Johnson are two of the best golfers in the world. I mean, playing against Matthew Fowler, who's not as highly ranked, I mean, it felt a little uneven there, but it's almost what we really needed to see too. So It's nice to have it back, but it's not exactly how I envisioned it. Moving on to the NCAA, they actually started their investigation in cooperation with the FBI regarding 2017 allegations of misconduct, a lot of which involved Adidas. I mean, with TCU giving $6,000 to assistant coach Corey Parker. misdeeds by Tony Bland. I mean, just a few generic things, but a lot of it where coaches were giving money to these kids, including Dennis Smith and DeAndre Ayton, both of which were lottery picks in the 2018 NBA draft to go play there. I mean, as you guys know, Louisville was already punished for this. Does it feel like it's a little too late? I mean, Donnelly, what do you think?
I think it's a little late. It's completely necessary. They had to do it, and it's better than nothing. But they needed to do this like 2 years ago. Starting this back up 3 years later is not how this is supposed to work. I mean, I know investigations, they take a long time. It's not a quick process, but reopening it 3 years later is a little ridiculous. And they needed to have done a better job with that. What do you think, Joe?
Yeah, I think it's a little too late. They always are behind on it seems like every case. There's so much scrutiny that goes on in college sports. There's over 120, 130 D1 schools, so there's a lot that needs to be looked at. There's D2 and D3 schools as well. But do it in a timely fashion, not years later. Not, players getting paid, that's always an issue, but now they're starting to ease out of that. And Johnny, you brought up the issues from the other players too. But it just seems a little too late. I mean, to bring it up now. Why? Because there's no sports going on. Universities are closed. It's a downtime in America because of the virus. Not much is going on. Okay, so maybe we can tackle this. But it's been so long since some of these cases that I feel like there's issues that can be going on and more currently that they can address now. I mean, Nick, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's a bit too little too late. The NCAA has a reputation of doing stuff, of doing acts like this. There's several instances where teams have punished players, and then the NCAA stepping in after that. And it's just like, since the NCAA's inception, way back, I think in the early 1900s, they've had a really bad framework for how to handle punishment and scandals. I've actually learned that at Holyoke Community College's sports management class. Shout out to Professor O'Connor for teaching me that. But yeah, and also lastly, I want to point out that Dick Vitale tweeted recently, LSU and Arizona will be, according to sources, LSU and Arizona will be hit with major allegations according to sources. So coming out of this, so we'll see what happens. How about you, Johnny?
Nick, I completely agree with you. I mean, this is kind of the NCAA's MO. I mean, it's hard to take it seriously at this point. I mean, we knew about these allegations almost as soon as they came to light. And now in a downtime, like you said, Joe, it feels like they're bringing it to light and finally taking it seriously. I mean, Louisville already got punished for this. I mean, what more is there to give them? I mean, the rest of these allegations, a lot of them are very loosely based. I don't agree with schools paying students, but there are a few of them where it's just, I mean, what's the issue? What exactly is going on there? And how come there wasn't more to be done if you guys knew that there was something going on or even suspected that something was going on? It doesn't seem like they're taking it seriously. And I don't think the NCAA is being taken seriously as a whole. Speaking on that topic, though, it looks like student athletes are making a little bit of headway in getting proper representation. The NCAA will vote on January 31st, 2021, to be expected, on whether college athletes will be able to get paid for using their likeness. And that includes any third-party endorsements, social media influencing, whether they open their own business, any public showings. And according to them, there's not going to be any cap on it. And as long as they don't get paid from the school or anything that benefits the school, then they can make money off of it. Is this a good idea? Joe, what do you think?
Absolutely. Pay the players. I mean, they're getting paid already in education. I get that. They're getting paid thousands for arguably a free education to play at the school. But these kids are the university are selling tickets and they're making hundreds of thousands of dollars to watch these players play, whether basketball, football, these big D1 programs, Alabama football. None of these players, for example, can get paid. Tua, I mean, he was a face of Alabama football for years before getting drafted this past month. I mean, for him not to get a dime, to get paid for his likeness, he's the number one jersey sales right now in the NFL, ahead of Brady, ahead of everybody else. And so for him not to get paid in college, when college students, we all have been in college, I mean, we could have used that money. College students can use that money. And especially when there's thousands of dollars off their name, I think they should be able to get paid regardless of the sport that they play. I mean, Donnelly, what do you think?
I absolutely think they need to get paid, as long as it's not from the school. I mean, what's the difference in them going out and getting a part-time job while they're in school? I mean, they're going to get paid doing that. Why not go work with, an athletic company that's going to benefit them, later on? I mean, they're getting a lot of money for it, more than, say working at like Starbucks or something. But
Right.
I don't think it's an issue. It's something that's done on their own time. And like you said, it doesn't benefit the school. It just benefits them and them only. And as long as there's no incentive to go to a certain school because they're going to get more of a more of a sponsorship with one company or another, then that shouldn't be an issue at all. And as long as it goes across the board with all sports and not just limited to football, that way you don't cross the lines with gender issues and things like that. I think it's absolutely something they need to do. What do you think, Johnny?
Well,
I'm going to go ahead and defer to Nick first.
Yeah.
But
I
appreciate it.
So I think it's absolutely the best idea to offer NCAA players making money off their likeness. I mean, it just solves this issue that's been going around for years, probably since the NCAA's inception. Like I said, in the last question. So I think it's really a good idea. It really solves the issue. Johnny, what do you think?
This is a subject that I'm very passionate about. This is something that I've written about many times in college, and I even wrote about and talked about after college. I absolutely think that players should have rights to representation and should be able to profit off of their likeness. But do I think this is a good idea? No. And the reason that I don't think it's a good idea is because the NCAA is going to find a way to make it so it's skewed. So there are some things that are violations. There are some things that aren't violations. And essentially, the fact that there's no cap is a little worrisome in itself. I mean, I believe that high school athletes, those who are in AAU and those who are at big-time programs in high school should be able to profit just as much as college athletes and professional athletes.
Right.
However, throwing $2 million, $3 million at these young guys and girls is a little worrisome. I mean, sure, they'll have the right representation and be able to get agents, but even then, it still feels like the NCAA will find a way to skew it, and no offense to them, screw it up.
Yeah.
So it's a little worrisome. I'm happy for athletes that they're probably going to have the opportunity to do this, but it's still troublesome.
Yeah.
With that said, we're going to go ahead and move on to yay or nay. And all these questions are related to college basketball and NCAA players. So should NCAA players be able to profit off of their likeness? Joe, yay or nay?
Yay. I think if they have the big name for the university and people like to tune in to that player, I think they should profit off their name.
Nick?
And Donnelly, oh, sorry.
Yay.
Go ahead.
Yay, and that's because obviously, like I said, it's a great idea since its inception. Donnelly?
Yay. Just like we had mentioned, as long as they're not paid by the school, they should make whatever they want. Johnny?
100% yes. I mean, like you said earlier, Joe, college students don't make a lot of money. And there's a lot of things that scholarships and stipends don't pay for. So, absolutely. Is the NCAA losing its integrity, Joe?
I think to an extent. I think they're still very powerful, especially March Madness and the fall with college football. But how they handle situations, I think they're losing a little bit of integrity. Donnelly, what do you think?
I think they also are losing their integrity. The way that they're dealing with this most recent FBI investigation and all the other allegations that have gone over through the years, they're not dealing with it correctly. What do you think, Nick?
Yeah, it's been happening. Like you said, Donnelly, it's been happening for ages. I mean, when are they ever going to stop? Stop this whole mess. Johnny?
Not to speak badly about the NCAA again, but can't lose integrity if it's been a pattern of continuance. So I'm going to say no for that exact reason.
Yeah.
Will college sports be negatively impacted from this, Joe?
Yeah, I think to an extent. Any major change can be demoralizing to the sport, to the sports that the NCAA represents in the short term, but I think long term they can figure it out. Nick, how about you?
Absolutely 110% yay. It will be negatively impacted. Like I said, so like Joe said, Joe stole the words out of my mouth. It's demoralizing to a lot of schools. Donnelly?
Yay. With all the issues that they've had over the years, I think it's going to take a while for it to actually be a smooth process for them. So I think there's going to be a lot of negativity, at least in the first few years, until they figure things out. Johnny?
Nay, people already knew that college sports had these problems. I mean, at this point, like I said, how much further can you sink?
True.
Should the I'm like I said, I'm very passionate about this.
We can tell.
Yeah.
Should the NCAA and outside organizations take investigations more seriously, Joe?
Yes, absolutely. These are kids that are involved, but you have to do the process right. If it's any other sport, they would take the steps accordingly. And the NCAA usually is pretty loose on the rules. They have to do something more concrete, I guess you could say. Donnelly, how about you? Do you agree?
I agree. They need to take things more seriously, and they need to not be so lenient on things and just keep it straight across the board. That way there's no gaps and shouldn't be any issues, even there's plenty, as we have seen over the years. Nick?
Yeah.
I would have to go with yay. Yeah. Like you two said, it's just it's just wow, I lost my train of thought here. Sorry. I'm going to piggyback so what you two said about that. They've been loosening up over its history, and something needs to be done. Johnny? When
a school is paying a student, absolutely, I think they should be very serious about that. For minor infractions, I mean, let it slide. Maybe a 30-day investigation, and if it's serious enough, then you give them a punishment. But that's it.
Yeah.
Should the NCAA become more lenient on less serious monetary infractions? Joe?
I'll take this one first. I think they should. I mean, if college kids get paid for their likeness, like we've talked about, and want to get paid and little incentives on the side, and they work hard, they're top performers, and I don't see why not. I mean, they're excelling at their job. It's like Donnelly said, it's kind of like a part-time job. If they want to get paid, and so the NCAA, the big boss, shouldn't come down on them too hard. I mean, Nick, how about you? You agree?
Yeah, I agree to a certain extent. I mean, yeah, it's but like here's the thing though, like if they want to be less lenient on that, like everything should be like all rules should be uniform. But like I'm gonna say yes right now, but I mean all rules should be uniformly agreed. If that even if that's even a word, I hope the viewers and you guys get what I'm saying. Donnelly?
I have to say nay on this one. I think they need to stay strict. It doesn't matter how small it is, because if you let small things slide, people are just going to think, oh, they don't care about this. And then it's going to be a standard that people are going to, or players and, other college students are going to start doing those things that, the NCAA lets slide. And then it's going to be like a snowball effect. It's just going to get more and more corrupted. So I think they need to be strict across the board with everything. What do you think, Johnny?
Like I said, if schools are paying students, I think that's a little bit more serious. However, there are a lot of loopholes within NCAA rules violations. I mean, there are certain times when recruits can talk to coaches, and coaches can talk to recruits, where it's just, I mean, it's a lot of technical stuff. So on that stuff, maybe be a little bit more lenient, But overall, I think they should stay pretty strict with schools paying students, because that's just not right. And last question, do NCAA athletes have the right to proper representation through their NCAA eligibility? Joe?
Yeah, I would say that yay to that. Their college career is so short in the grand scheme of things that I would think they would have the right. It's such a fine line the past decade or two with players being paid and likeness and everything else, and it's gaining steam. So I think as the years go on, I think we're going to see progress in one direction or not. Nick, what about you?
Yeah, I would have to agree with you, Joe. There, yay. Listen, they should have representation. Even the legal world, players have representation during cases. Why not determining NCAA eligibility? How about you, Donnelly?
I agree. I think they need a voice in all the issues that can come about throughout their career. And like Joe said, even though it's just short time, they still need something to keep them going through their 4 years. So I agree. What do you think, Johnny?
Just because they should doesn't mean they will. I mean, like I said earlier, the NCAA will find a way to where student athletes won't get proper representation, and they'll find a way to punish students who are relatively just trying to support themselves and support their families while they're not really making any money, or at least trying to make money. So at least that's my 2 cents. Joe, I know you have Facebook Live pulled up. Do we have any audience responses or any clips?
Yeah, we do. We have a few comments. We have Peter D. How are you doing, Nick? He wants to know.
Good,
JD.
good, thank you.
JD, and the last name is CUI. First name is JD. I don't know whose mutual friend, but yes, I've been waiting for.
How you doing, JD? Good to see you.
They've been waiting a while. I guess they've been waiting for this. And Jennifer B says hello, Nick. So Nick is the popular fan vote so far. But if any viewers if any viewers tonight want to post any questions in the chat, any comments, concerns, we will address it right on the live broadcast.
We also want to take this time and thank all of our loyal fans for liking us on Facebook, liking us on Instagram, liking us on Twitter, and tuning into all of these shows. I mean, it's because of you guys why we do this, and we love you all very much. So thank you very, very much for tuning in and for supporting us so much and being able to do what we love.
Absolutely.
With that said, we're going to go ahead and move on to my favorite segment, the brackets.
Those are
we have. We have some interesting matchups today. Today I'm going against Donnelly, and Nick and Joe are facing off in the first round.
Here we go,
We're going to
Joe.
go ahead and start off
Let's
with
do
Nick
it.
and Joe.
Okay.
Right now, in this present time, which comes first? The NBA or the NHL? Joe, we'll go ahead and start with you.
I thought when you said what was going to come first, I thought you were going to say chicken or the egg, which then I wouldn't have enough time to answer. I would say actually the NHL. And why I say that is I'm being optimistic about the Bruins because they're the top team in the league. But also the fact that there are rumblings about the 2014 playoff, that they are looking into different sites. And I believe they're looking into 2 different sites to try to get 24 teams to play. Kind of a round robin. They get a bye. Top 4 teams get a bye in each kind of side. They're working out the details, but I think they have to sooner rather than later before the ice melts. Summer's coming up quick, and I'm hopeful. I mean, for NBA, I don't know. They're kind of running into the same issues for the NHL, but I think the NHL, Gary Bettman, the commissioner, is very optimistic in his previous statements that he's had the week or so. And so, I mean, it gets me optimistic. So I'll defer to Nick. I don't know. Nick, what do you think?
Well, I have to disagree with you there, Joe. I think the NBA.
You always disagree with me. You always disagree.
Well, not all the
Excuse me,
time.
sir. You had your chance.
Not all the time.
Right.
So I think the NBA, because I feel like the NBA has made more news, out of the season returning than the NHL. The NHL made some news, but I think the NBA has advanced its regular season returning than the NHL. I feel like, and for all seasons to return, the players, each league's players union has to approve the return. With so with the league, so the NBPA, the National Basketball Players Association, I believe has a really decent relationship with the NBA. All thanks to Adam Silver. I mean, Adam Silver is a players commissioner. So I think the NBA will. So that's why I think the NBA will come back before the NHL, because of those 2 main points.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and go first. Joe, I don't know if you know what the word defer means, but when you defer, you pass it off to Nick. Otherwise, I thought you made a great argument. I was going to give you a 4, but now I'm going to give you a 3.
Because I used the wrong word.
No, it's because you didn't you deferred to him, but then you interrupted him.
Boy, the strict judge over here.
Follow the rules. Donnelly?
Okay, a three from you.
Joe, I thought your argument was it was pretty mediocre. I thought there could be more to it. Just wasn't all there. I mean, I agree with you, but that doesn't give you a 5. It just gives you a 2.
Oh.
Oh.
Moving on to Nick. Nick, I really like what you said about Adam Silver. He really is the players commissioner, and I think there's a lot more backing from him. And I like how you emphasize that, and I like how you were respectful of Joe. So I'm going to bump you up from a 3 to a 4. Donnelly?
All I said was that we disagreed. That's all I said.
I'm not
Defer.
going to let Nick off the hook on this one. I don't think his argument was very valid because I don't think news dictates who is actually doing more to start up the season again. So in that sense, I'm going to give Nick a 1.
Oh, geez.
It's a tie.
Looks like it's 5-5. All right, we move on to our first tiebreaker of the night. So, the Beverly Hills Dog Show aired last night. It was a rerun, however, still aired. Which breed of dog is the most underrated, Nick?
Hang on.
Technical issues?
No, I'm just trying to plug in my laptop here.
You want me to go
All
first?
right, we're going to go ahead and defer to Joe.
Oh, you're going to defer to me? Actually, Nick, are you all set?
Yeah, I'm all set. Sorry about that, guys. So, what breed is the most underrated? I would have to say the hound dog. The hound dog is the most underrated, I think, because, listen, Elvis Presley said it best. You ain't nothing but a hound dog. Crying all the time. You ain't nothing but a hound dog. And, yeah, so the lyrics goes on. So, yeah, I think the hound dog is literally the most underrated. And because Elvis made a song about it. You could not love Elvis. Joe, how about you?
I don't know how I could top Elvis, but I'm going to go Wiener Dog. I'm going to go Dachshund. I mean, very underrated.
Oh.
Very, very underrated dog.
Audience,
they are adorable. They are. Hey, no talking during my turn. Nick, the Dachshund is a great dog. Very underrated. Nick, you should get a Dachshund. I feel like you would name it Little Nicky after you, and it would be adorable. But I think underrated. They go against the bigger dogs, and so I like an underdog story. And I think they should have went further in the competition last night. I watched, and JD commented, "Haha, I love that answer. Nothing but a hound dog." Just want to throw her comment out there on live that but my puns get no response, so that's good. And I think though that the Dachshund, very underrated dog.
All right, so Donnelly, I'm going to go ahead and defer over to you. I will be right back if you'll excuse me for just one moment.
Well, Joe, I'm going to start with you. I thought that was fairly terrible, but not as terrible as Nick.
All right.
So I'm going to give you a 3 on this one because I felt like your choice in dog was a great choice and very underrated. And for Nick, if I could get a half points, I would give half points. But since I can't, you get a 1. I don't think a music song reference is a very valid point.
I figured I'd give a funny take on that, but
it was very hilarious. Don't get me wrong.
Nick, you read my mind with the hound dog thing, but hound dog is not a breed, so I'm going to go ahead and give you a 2. And Joe, while I completely agree with you, as does Logan here,
I knew it.
I don't believe you had conviction in your voice or in your words. So I'm going to go ahead and give you a 1. He's only up a 1.
I win.
So you won. No,
All right.
Wait. Oh, wait. So Donnie. So what did you give Joe?
I gave Joe a 3.
Okay. Yeah, you won.
Woo!
All right. Congratulations,
Nick,
Joe. You are moving on to the championship round. Nick, you're moving back to the 3rd place game.
Nick, that was well played, though. That was well played.
Yeah.
I give you that Elvis Presley.
I tried sportsmanship. Fine. All right, so I advanced. Cool. All right, Donnelly and Johnny, you're up.
Yep.
All right, so Donnelly, our question is, will and should the universal DH position be eliminated? I won last week, so I'm going to go ahead and defer to you.
All right.
And that's how you use it, Joe.
I don't like the universal DH rule. I really think like the whole thing should be scrapped for both sides. I don't think it's fair. It does create some excitement in the game, but I think there's more excitement in watching pitchers attempt to hit because sometimes it's quite comical, and even better when they actually make hits and sometimes make great plays out of it. It's just, to me, that's a lot more interesting than watching some great hitter come up just to hit the ball because they don't want the pitchers to come up to the plate. So I think it should just be totally ousted altogether. What do you think, Johnny?
All right, so as you know, the DH position was implemented in the AL in 1973. It actually was implemented on April 6th, 1973. And ever since then, the AL with the exception of 1 year, has had a higher year-to-year batting average than the NL. Dolly, you bring up a good point. It's fun to see pitchers bat, but at the same time, people go to games to see home runs. People go to games to see offense. I mean, the 19-17 game between Boston and Texas was one of the most exciting games ever because it was two teams scoring a ton of runs. I mean, there are a lot more people who want to see a home run from a DH than see a bunt, sacrifice, or say a strikeout from a pitcher. You know. Now, the proposal that they made was that if they bring in the DH, they'll have to increase the rosters up to 26, which I think is a great move. And frankly, I think if they implement the DH in the AL and NL on a more permanent basis, we're going to be able to see veterans play up until their mid-30s and even early 40s. So it's going to be great for baseball. It's going to be great for players. And really, on top of that, as long as they can institute a luxury tax and increase the salary cap a little bit, maybe be a little bit more strict with that, I think it's a great idea. And frankly, it's something that I'm excited to see.
Okay, you both made a good argument. I mean, Nick, what is your score for Mr. Donnelly?
Well, Donnelly made some good points. I think he had a strong showing this week in this matchup. I would give him 4.
Ooh.
And then,
okay,
go ahead.
Do you want to give Johnny's or do you want me to go on Donnelly?
Go on Donnelly real quick.
I think, John, you made some good points. I think it is exciting. It's a little different to see the pitcher try to hit, but typically pitchers cannot hit. I mean, that's your downfall for your argument, is that they're typically pretty bad. So I'll give you a solid 3.
All right, so Donnelly is
All right.
at 7.
You got 7. Nick, how about Johnny?
So Johnny needs a combined score of 8 from the both of us to to move along to his 3rd consecutive championship game since the start of the series. So for Johnny, you also made some really good points. I thought your delivery was fantastic. I think you've done your research. I am also going to give you a 4.
Okay. So right now you have 4. You need a 4 from me. And Johnny, you were going to get a 4 from me. Then you talked too long. You went on too much. You had it. You had the research. You had the delivery. You had the knowledge. But you went too long. I'm giving you a 3.
So we have a tie.
All right. And we are tied up again.
Would have had the win. But
Guys, we have too many tiebreakers, I'm telling you.
Can I announce the question, Johnny?
Good thing we prepared for this.
All right. So I'll announce the question here for the tiebreaker.
Okay.
So the UFC has protocols placed in for their return. Do you agree with what the UFC is trying to do during this pandemic? Let's start with John Donnelly.
I think it's hard to implement these issues with this pandemic going on. You're talking about a sport where there's extremely close contact, and really the only thing that you can do to limit any of that is keeping the people that are not fighting, I guess, away from each other, maybe wearing some masks, things like that. But whatever they're trying to do, they can't really help it that much, especially with that sport. You either, continue to host the sport or you don't do it at all, because you can't keep people away from each other with a competitive sport where you're wrestling and, throwing punches, possible bleeding, which is huge, easy contact and spread of any kind of disease. So I think that there is not much they could do. They either have it or they don't. What do you think, Johnny?
I miss the UFC, but I think it's just too soon. The way they would have to do it right now, with all the blood that's shed and with all of the bodily fluids such as sweat and other perspirations from both UFC fighters onto other people as well. I mean, it's not. I mean, you would have to take so many precautions that would just make it look like a cartoon. I mean, you'd have to wear gloves, you'd have to wear almost full body suits, you'd have to wear face masks. I mean, it's just not. It would not be authentic. I mean, and the way that they're doing it right now, I don't think that it's enough. You know, so I think the UFC should have given it just a little bit more time. You know, sorry that these fighters can't earn 10,000 to, for some of them, $10 million per fight, but you know what? It's not worth it right now.
Okay. All right, Nick. What are your scores?
So for Donnelly's coming in strong this week. I'm gonna give him a solid 4 for that. For his point. Joe, you want to give Donnelly a score?
Oh, I agree, Nick. I think he came out strong. But I'm not going to quite give him a 4. I'm going to give him a solid 3. So he's got 7 for this round, this tiebreak.
Okay. Johnny, I think you're losing your edge this week. I mean, your delivery your delivery on that point, unlike last point, was like, you kind of like stumbled a little bit. I mean, your content alone would have been a 4, but I'm going to deduct a point for delivery. I'm going to go with a 3. Actually, no, wait, I'm going to change mine. 2.
Oh.
Yes.
Need a 5.
I mean, Johnny, you know where this is going. Nobody's perfect. I can't give you a 5. I'm going to give you a 4. I think your material was very good, and I think you backed up your facts pretty well. But like I said, nobody's perfect. I'm sorry that Nick deducted you by a point, because otherwise we'd have to go to a second tiebreak. But them the rules, and like I said, I give you.
It was 7-6. I needed 5 to tie. Congratulations, Donnelly. You're moving on to the championship round. It looks like I'm not going to win this week. Oh, no.
Yeah, you got dethroned. Let's try to see if you get
me. About time.
Okay, I'll be back next week, though, and you better watch out for me in the third place game.
All right.
Speaking of that, let's go ahead and move on to the third place game. Nick.
It's me and you, Johnny.
I'm going to let you go ahead and go first.
Okay.
If you could only have one, which Nintendo 64 game would you want to own?
Absolutely 110% the N64 version of Mario Kart. Now, let me tell you the reason why I said Mario Kart. I've been a fan of the games for the longest time Johnny. I've been a fan of it for as long as I can remember.
I'm not interrupting.
Also too, like on a serious note, the graphics, they just make you nostalgic at this point. I mean, it brings up your childhood days too. I mean, the graphics, I mean, and plus, can never go wrong with trying to beat Rainbow Road. Rainbow Road's the toughest course. I mean, you can, that's always a challenge. I'm always up for that challenge to defeat Rainbow Road. Johnny, what do you think? I mean, you're in strong disagreement with me. Well, what do you think? That's my. I mean, it has to be Mario Kart, of course. Mario Kart. I grew up on this stuff.
I know you're appealing to bias here, but I'm gonna go ahead and go with straight up facts here. Unquestionably, the answer is Legends of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. This was a game that has the highest rating from Metacritic of any game of all time, and the number 2 rating from Game Rankings. I mean, it was the 5th game in the Zelda franchise, but really, you can argue that it was the one that launched Zelda to new heights. Without Ocarina of Time, we would not have Breath of the Wild today, which is not that far off, frankly, in my opinion. I mean, you can't go wrong with Zelda. And frankly, on top of that, it's the first Zelda game with 3D graphics, so you have to give it that. Yeah, there's that sigh of relief.
Wow, good arguments.
It was great.
Woo, those are classics. I have to throw in real quick. So, Nick, we got your friend Joe commenting.
Yeah.
He said, "What's up, guys?" Which doing good. And he also said to mute you, Nick. So we have one vote for you for fourth place somehow.
Is that a downvote for Nick?
He said mute him. That's the exact quote. I'm looking at it right now. Mute him. And
Hey,
it was right after you.
Harvester, I thought we were buddies,
Yeah.
man. We go back to
I think we should listen to the audience. Give the people what they want.
Donnelly, what do you think? This is tough.
It is pretty tough. You know, I love Mario Kart. That was great. It was definitely a classic. And I definitely agree trying to beat all those levels, Rainbow Road, all that. I'm a little impartial. I mean, me personally, I like GoldenEye. That was my game. But I'm still going to give you a strong 3 on that. Almost a 4, but it's just going to be a 3 for you, Nick.
Okay.
What do you think, Joe?
I mean, Nick, you came out strong with the classic Mario Kart. I mean, I grew up with that. Me and my sister would play that for hours.
Right, it's a good game.
That stupid Rainbow Road, that got me, Nick. You get a 4. That was a good argument.
Yeah.
What did I get, guys? Go ahead, Donnelly.
Johnny, you know I never played Zelda.
Oh, wow. Uh-oh, know your audience.
So based purely on
I was going to
facts,
go with GoldenEye, too. That was my number 2.
based on your facts alone, I think, you know, you have some really strong points. And I like what you had to say about it. I mean, from the friends that I have that have played it, you know, it was such a great game and such a classic. You know, one of the first big games. So with that, I will, based on the facts alone, give you a 4. What do you think, Joe?
Man, Zelda, what a great game. Nobody can deny that. I have to throw in real quick that our viewer, Joe, might have the top choice of them all, Super Smash Brothers. I think you guys both left that one out, but you can only pick one. So you guys both had great arguments. I mean, Johnny, you had your facts ranging from the beginning to today's Zelda. I thought it was very, very good. Oh man, it's tough. But I myself played the later Zeldas. I didn't play that Zelda, so I can't really comment on the one you argued about. I would have to give you a 2 then, but I think you both had very strong arguments.
I see where this is going, so before I get muted, I want to give some birthday shout-outs to Peter Gilbert, Matt Davies, and Mike Drew, who all celebrated their birthday this week. Happy birthday, guys.
Happy birthday, guys. And now you're muted. Now you're muted.
Yep.
Okay.
He's been muted.
So,
Boy, has he fallen from grace? First, and now he's 4th.
all right, so I think what's next in the show is the answer to the trivia questions. Notice how I'm taking over hosting duties since, you know, Johnny's muted. The answer to the trivia question. So the trivia question that we posed earlier on in the show, this day, May 18th, 1995, that was the year that Jordan returned to the Bulls, I should say. They faced the Magic in a series, and on this day in 1995, the Bulls, Jordan and the Bulls, lost to the Orlando Magic. So my question to you guys and the viewers today, who was the Orlando Magic head coach in 1995 when they defeated Jordan and the Bulls?
No idea.
Nope.
Any final guesses? No?
Not even.
No.
Correct answer
one.
is Brian Hall.
Did Johnny
Hall.
I think Johnny – no, you know what? We can't hear.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
can't hear him now. Correct answer
He's
is
wrong.
Brian Hall.
Automatic wrong answer.
Brian who?
Brian Hall.
Never heard of
Never
him.
heard of him.
Well, now you do.
He was the coach of the 95 Orlando Magic.
Yes.
Okay. Then that's your today in sports, I guess. This day in sports.
All right,
Johnny
now
is
moving right
so-
along. What's up?
Johnny is so pleased being muted.
He just didn't have enough to say. He wanted to be muted.
All right, so on the final thoughts, let's start with John Donnelly.
Actually, wait a minute, though.
Yeah,
we didn't do the championship.
we got the championship to do.
Oh, right.
We got so carried away with Johnny losing and we took such pride from that we have to do the championship. So now he gets to listen to us ramble, and he's got to write down his score because he can't clearly say it.
Okay, so this is a live show, so we make screw ups, live. We go
That's
on the
all right.
fly.
Yeah.
So
I just really wanted to get to this question. Nick, read the championship question if you have it in front of you. I can't wait.
Okay, so this championship question between Donnelly and Joe. How many chickens does it take to kill an adult lion? Let's start with closing my eyes. Donnelly, what's going on? Well, what's your answer?
Oh, this is a tough one. I'm gonna have to go based on sheer number because chickens are so small. They ain't gonna do anything with a lion. So I'd have to say at least about 30 chickens, just having to peck away at that lion in order to kill it.
Mm-hmm.
But even then, I don't even think that's gonna be enough. Yeah, I don't have much else on that one. What do you think, Joe?
Joe.
Oh, I think the answer clearly is 2. And why I say 2. 1 for distraction. 1 for distraction, 1 for the kill. Chickens are smart. Chickens are delicious.
They though?
Chickens can, they're smarter animals than they give credit to. I think we all like chicken here. And to not waste the population on trying to answer this question and trying to conserve the chickens, 2.
All right, so since Johnny's muted, he doesn't get a chance to vote here. So it's
He's going to write it down.
What?
He's going to write it down.
Yeah,
he's going to write it down.
Actually, he's got to write it down. So let's go with Johnny first. Oh, you both got a 1.
Wait, I have it right here. You both get a 1. If you want to hear my response, please tune in to the Sports Take page. Okay.
All right.
All right, so for Joe, actually, wait a minute. I'm going to go with Donnelly first. Donnelly, you had
Two
some.
That's 2 chickens. I'm
Donnelly
responding
had
to
some
Johnny.
good points, but not as strong as Joe. But I'm going to go with a 2 for you. Joe, you had some really valid points. I'd say 2 chickens, because the 2 chickens was in my mind, based on your reasoning, made sense. Joe. You get a 4 and the title.
Whoa!
Now,
Woohoo! Let's go.
So Joe is the champion for today.
this week was rigged.
All right.
Joe is a champion for this week. He gets for final thoughts. He gets the longest amount of time.
All right.
And Joe, do you want to go first with your final thought?
Well, because I won this week, I get to choose the order.
Yeah,
So
right.
I'm going
That's my man.
to use this power accordingly. I'm going to go the runner-up first.
Okay.
My final thought is I hope more sports follow suit, like golf and UFC and NASCAR, and come back sooner rather than later so that we can finally have enjoyment in life while we're all sitting at home doing absolutely nothing, except for some of us. But I don't know. I just want sports back, and I'm glad to see a few sports coming around and finally giving us some entertainment. Yeah.
No, good final thought. Johnny, do you have anything?
I'm gonna go with a no on that one.
Yeah,
No?
you can't really hear.
I think he's speechless. We had
The
such
two-time
good points that he
champions,
just couldn't formulate any more ideas.
I guess you could say he's feeling a little mute this week. There's a bad pun for you, Johnny. You're welcome.
Just walking away.
All right, good night, everybody. No, Nick, go ahead.
Yeah. So my final thought is this. So Last Dance on ESPN closed last night. Great documentary. However, I am looking forward to ESPN's upcoming 30 for 30s. You got the story of Lance Armstrong, the story of the 1998 home run baseball chase between McGwire and Sosa. I mean, I'm looking forward to those 30 for 30. So the documentary series is not done yet. They still have 30 for 30 series coming up. New 30 for 30 series is coming up. Yeah, I'm just looking forward to that. You know, in the time that sports isn't happening. How about you, Joe? You get the final word.
I mean, I'm just going to say that I am very thankful, along with everybody else, I'm sure, that a lot of states are reopening. Mm-hmm. They are slowly reopening restaurants and stores and everything after a couple months of a scary time. And, you know, the Governor Baker from Massachusetts, because I know we have viewers all over, Massachusetts plan has a 4-phase plan that will take probably a few months to go through if all goes well. So I think that if everyone stays safe, everyone stay healthy, wear your mask if you go out, if you have to go out, stay 6 feet apart if you have to, you know, if you can, do your best to social distance, and overall just stay safe, because now that the states are opening up, we can't go backwards. We have to go forward in order to get sports back, in order to go to movie theaters and different things that we all really enjoy to do. So I think just overall, all of our viewers, you guys, family and friends, just stay safe, stay healthy. And Johnny, I can hear you clapping even though you're muted, so I appreciate that. And I guess I'll close out the show because I won and Johnny's muted, so this is a double win for me. We want to thank all the viewers who tune in on Facebook and commented on social media. We will be posting more throughout the week, I'm sure. Any questions, any topics of discussion that you guys want, please like our pages on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter. Follow us on YouTube. We post it on YouTube. Nick does a great job of editing the show onto YouTube. And Donnelly, I know you clip up different segments for people to tune in. And Johnny's the pretty face of the show. So we all contribute very well, and we make a good team. And I'm very thankful for the 4 of you for the past hour. And I try to get us to the hour mark, but we are 59 minutes live. But I got nothing else. So stay safe, stay healthy, and tune in next time for all new Sports Take podcast. See you guys.
Later.
See ya.